S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Bardock was released domestically here in Japan on the 23rd of January as an over-the-counter release for the retail price of 5,500 yen or roughly $55. Yes, this is the Japanese release as I do live in Japan, but Bardock should be arriving in the States in late February, I believe, which means the rest of the world should be seeing him pop up around that time as well. Bardock, Father of Goku, is probably one of the most anticipated releases of the year and one that many of us fans have wanted for a very long time, myself included. So I'm extremely happy to tell you all that this figure definitely lives up to the hype. Tamashii have pulled out all stops and delivered us an exceptional representation of Bardock in figure form. I really feel that Tamashii have spared no expense with this release, as everything you see here is a completely new sculpt. New head, new faces to match, the body, the arms, the legs, and the armor, even the hands are newly sculpted pieces. No reuse from previous figures. Tamashii could have easily slapped together something half-assed using parts from Vegeta, Trunks, and Goku, and we probably still would have swallowed it and called it chocolate, but they went all out and gave us a brand new figure. However, since this is a completely brand new sculpt, the design does come under a bit of scrutiny amongst the fanbase. The hair sculpt is definitely more angular than any previous iterations of Goku we've received in the past and doesn't necessarily, in my opinion, evoke the original artwork from Toriyama. Instead, it's a sharper, more detailed piece that is more in line with some of Tamashii's more recent releases like Vegito Blue, which has more, dare I say, a Dragon Ball Z Fighters feel to it. The added detail in the hair gives Bardock a little bit more depth, giving him more of a unique look that separates him from the Saiyan raised on Earth Goku. I know some might argue that Tamashii were better off using the same head sculpt from the Saiyan raised on Earth figure, as Bardock is essentially the same in appearance as Goku. However, I actually like this new head sculpt quite a bit. Goku has been drawn by so many artists over the years in so many different mediums. It's kind of refreshing getting this new head sculpt, in my opinion. To be honest, I wasn't completely sold on the faces in the beginning, but they have since grown on me, and again, I am just really happy that they didn't use the same faces from the Saiyan race on Earth Goku. That would have been extremely lazy, and I've never really thought that they suited Bardock, in my opinion. Bardock and Goku may share the same overall appearance, but their personalities are different, and that definitely shows in the facial expressions. I think my favorite faceplate would definitely have to be the smirking faceplate, very iconic to Bardock and just so many posing possibilities with this particular face. So glad Tamashii included it. Looking at the rest of the body, I really like how the armor has turned out and how it blends in so well with the exposed areas of the body. The armor isn't Trunks, it isn't Vegeta, it's a unique sculpt to Bardock, as it should be, and gives him a broad, muscular profile. The dark blue areas also have a really shiny gloss finish to it. Usually I'm against shiny plastic, but in this case it's clearly a deliberate design choice. I still would have preferred a matte finish, but it does look okay, and I can kind of understand what Tamashii were going for, but to me, Saiyan armor never looks shiny, so I don't know. What are you going to do about it? At least it doesn't look cheap or tacky, so I guess I'm fine with it. All the panel lines are sculpted in, his wristbands, his boots, or his ankle warmers are nicely detailed. Even the tail that wraps around his waist has some very nicely sculpted fur detail to it. It's a floating piece, but you can't remove it, and the base of the tail is glued onto the back. Bardock is absolutely ripped. I love the sculpted musculature on Bardock's arms. It's newly sculpted and very different to any other Gokus we've received in the past, and makes Bardock look and feel like he's actually from a warrior race. As far as paint apps, almost everything you see is molded colored plastic, but for what we do get that is painted, the green sections of the armor, the paint apps in the faces, the gloves, are all very clean and nicely done. The only bit of shading we get with Bardock is in the dark blue, almost black areas of the armor. It's ever so subtle, but there is a bit of gradation work around the chest plate. Two little nitpicks about the figure that aren't so much of a big deal now that I have him in hand is, of course, the color green Tamashii decided to go with. It's not the dark emerald green I think most of us were hoping for, but in hand, I'll have to admit that it's not as saturated as most pictures make it out to be. I really thought it would be a bright lime green, but it's a little bit more muted, almost an olive green. Originally, I was so ready to repaint those areas, but to be honest, it really doesn't bother me that much now. If I pick up another Bardock, I might try giving him a darker green look, but for now, he looks fine as is. Alright, so for articulation, Bardock can move his head up about that much, not too far up, but he can bury his head into his chest very far down, which is great. Left and right rotation, and you do get some pretty good tilt as well, and that's mainly due to the neck joint there. We get some butterfly joints at the shoulders, 360 rotation. The arms extend a little bit past 90, about 90. We get some upper bicep swivel, a little stiff, a little squeaky, double jointed elbows, and of course swivels and hinges at the wrists as well. Now his torso is fantastic actually. He gets really great ab crunch there and bends pretty far back as well. You get rotation, but you get some fantastic tilt. Look at that. You can get Bardock in some fantastic poses, really dynamic poses with that upper torso joint there. He has swivel in the waist. The belt, not the belt, the tail here is a separate piece. It is a floating piece, so it's not going to get in the way. And the waist pads here are on a hinge, so they do move out of the way when you have Bardock kicking out as well. For the legs, Bardock can do the splits pretty far out actually. Not too bad at all. Again, those pads here do hinge out, so they're not going to get in the way. He can kick backward and forward almost perfectly. He has upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, no cut there at the boot, swivels at the ankle, moves down, moves up. You get your standard toe articulation there, and not the greatest ankle pivot unfortunately, but it is there. So I've always really just kind of glossed over the hands for previous releases, but I have to give credit where credit is due, and these hands have got to be some of the best sculpted hands in the Dragon Ball line. Again, Tamashii could have easily just recycled some, Goku hands and called it a day, but the hands we get here are completely new sculpts and very natural looking and expressive. I just wish we could have used these hands with other Goku figures, but because of the gloves, they are unique only to Bardock. We also get 4 interchangeable faces, all very nicely sculpted and detailed, both with the Scouter and without. So yes, you are able to swap between Scouter and Scouterless faces. All you have to do is detach the bandana, which is a separate piece, pop out the Scouter, grab the left earpiece and plug that into the side, Put the bandana back on. Pop that into the headpiece. And Bardock comes with 2 sets of bangs. One for the scouter and the other for the left earpiece. They're slightly different in size. They accommodate the shape of the ear or the shape of the scouter. And yeah, there we have it. And the last accessory we do get is of course Bardock's signature attack, the Spirit Cannon, which is unfortunately just a reuse of Dragon Ball Super's Future Trunks Gallic gun. It has the extra attachment peg so you can plug it into one of Bardock's right hands, and he does hold it very securely. But again, it's not an original piece, but I guess it does serve its purpose well enough. It would have been nice to get a brand new effect, but I'm not complaining. I'm just happy we got an effect piece at all. So there are a couple of things that just make Bardock fall a little short from being an almost perfect figure in my opinion. A few color choices that I'm a little indifferent about, and the lack of ankle tilt are really the only nitpicks with what is essentially a fantastic figure. Again, I really do applaud Tamashii for going all out with a new sculpt. I really feel that they did Bardock, a much beloved character amongst us fans, justice. I know some would have liked to see a Super Saiyan head and faces to go along with the set, but I feel Bardock is one of those characters who wasn't particularly the strongest, but definitely a badass in his own right, and honestly more iconic in his space form more than anything else. I'm sure some third-party company will come along with some kind of Super Saiyan head and faces for Bardock anyway, but as is, I am completely satisfied with what we got. For me, Bardock is just a fun, expressive figure. The articulation, especially in the torso, is one of the best in the line, and I'm really looking forward to taking more photos with this guy. There is just something about the Saiyans, the whole mythos, the backstory of this warrior race, their traditional culture mixed with intergalactic technology. I don't know, I think there's just so much to be explored in terms of story and with this hobby as well, so I really hope we get more Saiyans in the future. Other than Goku and Vegeta, but from Bardock's timeline, wouldn't it be so cool to have some kind of Saiyan army builder? Personally, I would be so into that. I would love to have a squadron of nameless Saiyans on my shelf with some space pods as a backdrop. Anyway, I'm going to finish the review on that note, and that's my review of S.H.Figuarts Bardock. An excellent figure, a great start to the year from Tamashii, a figure that I highly recommend. With that being said, thank you for tuning in again. As always, you guys are the best. Likes and comments are always appreciated. Have a fantastic week. Stay safe, keep healthy, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. Yoroshiku!